Welcome to the first show of Sectorverse, presented by a junior VC. Here we have a candid conversation with the founders of specific sectors like today we have in SaaS. These founders would go one step ahead, let us know more about what they're building and what niche are they bringing to the industry. Today in our first episode, we have Ajay, the CEO of NextBillion.AI, and Lazare, the CEO of Spoke. Both have diverse applications that are very much involved in a SaaS, and they have a they will be having a profound impact in the industry. Both of which are very early stage in terms of their companies. Both of which started in 2020. And we would be talking about how exactly they can have their impact, their journey, and what exactly they bring to the table. Today, we are joined by Raghav from a junior VC as well. So Ajay, you kind of have a very eventful journey from studying in the UK, working in Mountain View, and then coming back to Asia, working in Asia. How was this journey all these years? Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was good. I graduated in recession in 2008-9, so didn't have much of an opportunity when I did in the UK. So I had to leave the UK. I came back to India, was chilling for a year, and then I finally got a job after a while in 2010 or so with a very small company called Steel Wedge. So spent about 3.5 years in India back home with my parents. Went to Google there and then moved to Mountain View via Google. It was good. I mean, Silicon Valley was really good exposure. Obviously Google's a great company to work for. It was all fine there. Then I got this opportunity to go to Japan. And it so happened that it was an opportunity at that point. That age just seemed like the best thing to do. So I moved out to Japan and then realized it's not like very easy to live alone in Japan. So couldn't adjust for a while there, then came back to New York, Amex. And then when it so happened that for some personal reasons, there were some visa issues with my wife, so we couldn't stay in US. And when Grab came up and they said, okay, do you want to set up the Maps team? You've been out of Maps for a while, but it seems like you can still do the job. We said, okay. When the opportunity came up, I just jumped to it.
Awesome. Kind of an interesting story for sure. So Lazare, good to see you again. Fun fact, Lazare was my flatmate in Singapore when I was working in Singapore before this. And you seem to have kind of interesting journey as well. Both of us have had deep conversations earlier. Your journey from having a law degree to moving into a business degree, then getting into a tech degree as such, and now starting a tech company. What is the motivation behind this, and what is your journey like?
The motivation is creating the tools that lawyers and business people use all the time. So I worked for a year as a paralegal in a law company, and what I did all the time was use legal search engines, and that just drove me crazy. I just wanted to create that legal search engine instead of being like the monkey behind a computer, typing all the time like keywords to search for specific law cases, etc. And at the time, as I knew nothing about computer science, I thought it was impossible to directly move towards after a law degree. So I went into business school and quickly realized that actually I could pick up computer science on my own, and ended up in a great school in Paris, which is called 42. They now have about 30 schools worldwide. They don't have any presence in Asia as far as I know of, but the basic principle of the school is that it's peer-to-peer learning and that there are no teachers. So it's a school open 24/7. You can come in whenever you want, and you have just missions to accomplish, and you will get corrected by peers. And that allowed me to step up really my game in computer science, start working as a developer for a really short time before starting the company Spoke right now on my own with fellow computer science graduates from 42.
Awesome. Yeah, kind of very interesting. I think so. We'll probably just move on to our next sort of our segment, which is more about understanding the company that you're building. So Ajay, very inspired by the application that you're building, right? So it's kind of very niche in the demand that we are actually looking at today's world. Most of the applications today require maps, and in the era of how exactly to connect various maps in the ever-growing era, we would need a toolkit, and I think you're building the toolkit that is required, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for our viewers, can you just explain what exactly you're building and what exactly problems are you solving, not just for the SaaS industry, but also across the industries as such?
So I think what we fundamentally have done is take the age-old mapping problem and try to give a new twist to it. It's something that we are creating as a new market, spatial data vertical. Cloud spatial data is a new vertical. It's not something that has existed in the past. Maps are always like you use a DIY black box. You get some distance time estimates and you just assume, okay, they're correct. And then you move on. You can't really touch and feel map data. It's all on the back end. It's not fungible the way it is with other things. So as enterprises become more sophisticated, having more sophisticated map data is very important. I mean, you deliver millions of orders per day, but you cannot control how your fare is priced, what routes your drivers should take, how much they have to pay eventually, what is the reconciliation process. Everything today happens on a map. Everything is a factor of time, distance, and it impacts every business metric across the chain. So what we started to do is understand that customizable map data is what the way to be in the future. We need to make sure that map data is playable, it's manageable easily. It's also customizable in a way that's not super complicated, because spatial data is very fragmented in general. What you think is a residential road may be a tertiary road to someone, what may be a footpath, maybe a sidewalk to someone. So when you try to code everything in space, it's a very difficult problem as such. So we're trying to standardize some of these things, try to bring everybody on the same page, bring global enterprises to a level where you can talk the same language about maps. And that's what we're trying to build, a spatial data platform for every enterprise in the world. Consumer is not something we ever would want to do. We only want to make sure we build a very sophisticated, secure vertical cloud for enterprises. So that's where we are.
Awesome. Yeah, kind of very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, Ajay, I was going through one of your interviews, and one point that actually kind of struck at the problem for me was that you mentioned that so a lot of companies providing such mapping technology, they target the retail consumer and not a enterprise client or a business. And this example, like, it particularly makes a lot of sense that you mentioned that a lot of maps provide information on distances, taking a car into account, but no one would consider a truck, a mini truck, or something of that sort. And I mean, that really speaks a lot about the problem you're trying to solve, right? So, I mean, could you maybe like give maybe one or two more use cases like similar to this, so that our users would get like this clear idea?
Yeah, I mean, there are millions of use cases. Like Singapore has Formula One every year. It's an example I like to quote every time I do speak to someone. When the Formula One happens, it's a street race. They do it in the middle of the city. Many roads get shut. Many roads get like customized for the Formula One. So people, pedestrians, cars, bikes cannot go around that routes. But then there are people who live in some of those areas. There are offices that are open. Food needs to get delivered. Post needs to come. Couriers are all over the place. So how do you route with all these restrictions in mind? You cannot put these restrictions out on a map that's available today, because it's the same map that everybody in the world uses. It's not a map just for you. And so if you want a map just for you, you need to be able to have this whole map data stack that you can actually sort of play with. And that is what we are creating. Like, how do I give you X company map, not a map that I've built for 500 million people that you also have to use? So this is what we are trying to achieve. And there are many use cases like this, like in Singapore or India, bikes deliver food. They just take footpaths, sideways, whatever they find. Scooters deliver food. So people just go around all over the place to deliver food. They don't really take a path that the map gives. So how do you customize, how do you calculate ETA more effectively? Because if you're able to forecast ETA more effectively, you're able to then allocate the next order to that person more effectively. So your whole business, sort of the chain, becomes more efficient. So that's what we're looking at.
Awesome. Very exciting, right? Like in terms of how exactly you guys are going to build out these applications or tools for, like, say, the big companies, which kind of do have these applications in them, but they are obviously not 100% as such, or require sort of an external company or an external sort of software tool kind of to help them out in getting those perfections done, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Lazare, I think even you kind of are in that domain, right? You are also kind of are in this big mammoth sort of a thing. You're fighting this war like David versus Goliath. They do have, all these big companies do have these applications, like Google Meets are there, Microsoft Teams is there, Zoom is there. You kind of are also in that particular thing, trying to create this niche for yourself. if you'd see in terms of video conferencing, right? But you also bring on a table that not many of these companies already have, right? Which is obviously editing of videos and kind of giving transcription for them. We realize that Google's transcription services are just about 85 to 90% accurate, and you're trying to scale, give apples to apples, and trying to match them with about 100% accuracy or 98% accuracy, like you mentioned, with the services that you're providing. Could you tell us more about what exactly your company is and how exactly you're trying to form this company and stuff?
Sure. So the basic principle is realizing we're holding conversations over computers all the times, meetings, etc. And even though computers can memorize anything, all those conversations just disappear. And there's no way to make them easily searchable and shareable. That is, there's no you have no repository of all your conversation, which you can search and share easily. So that's the basic point of our company. Make all the video conversations you have easily shareable and, of course, searchable. And in order to, this is really an ambitious goal. And the product we're building is, in the contrary to Ajay, quite consumer-facing. That is, we're competing with companies that have a very low retail value, like Zoom, and which have products which are really, really impressive. So what we're going first for is providing our customers with the best-in-class accuracy for speech-to-text transcription, even if that involves human transcription. This is what this is our first step. So being able to provide perfect accuracy for anybody who's willing to pay for it, and also a first customer niche before going to a wider segment of anybody using video conferencing on a daily basis, and so that they'll be able to find any information they had during a meeting and easily share it with a coworker, that sort of stuff.
So, I do understand that you are fairly new. Your company is I think you started in 2020, and you have given us a bit of an idea about who you're targeting. So, I just wanted to know, do you have any clear future plans? How are you going to go about the, let's say, the upcoming 1 or 2 years? How are you going to compete? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we do have a plan. So the plan is targeting researchers or people who are already paying for perfect transcription. So those people are actually consumer researchers, what we call qualitative researchers. That is consultants, for example, that are going to interview consumers for 10, 20 hours about car insurance, that kind of stuff. Those people are already used to have getting a transcription of all their conversations. And those transcriptions are not tied to the original media, which is video, the conversation itself. And so we're targeting them by bringing them the ability to tie those transcripts to video, and from the transcript being able to create a highlight for the clients, that sort of stuff. So this is a really short-term market, short-term goal, and a larger goal, which we're also starting, are first webinars. Anybody holding webinars so that they can then produce a quick and easy summary for their LinkedIn followers, that kind of stuff. So I think our conversation in that regards is a perfect example. We're going to talk for 1 hour. If you share that recording, that 1 hour recording on social media, truth is you're going to get no click, no view, because nobody wants to watch a 1 hour webinar recording if it's not live. What you want to watch is the 2 or 3 punchlines, which are really intense. So this is our next goal. And then wider goal is team communication in general. So for example, being able to tag, with our tool, being able to tag your coworkers via email, Slack, Microsoft Teams, saying, oh, look, we had this interesting conversation with a user. Could you come and check those 15 seconds, etc.
Awesome. So yeah, we do understand how exactly both companies are functioning, and now it's a great segue for us to actually get into the SaaS industry, and we can probably talk about how exactly SaaS industry is evolved in your specific use cases, which kind of helps us to understand that the earliest SaaS models that we knew about were actually for say the consumer models, like how Google has started, right? Ajay, you'll probably know this better than anyone over here. Of how exactly they started providing these applications in a freemium model, and then kind of charged on top of that, and that's how probably industries have evolved in perspective of both how exactly consumers use it or enterprises use it. But why would you want to operate in this enterprise domain as such and not in a consumer domain? What are the differences that you feel in terms of the industry and how exactly it kind of builds your mindset of providing solutions only for the enterprises?
So with enterprise, you have a very well-defined problem statement, and you go and tackle towards that and try and scale the problem statement across multiple enterprises. You have repeatability of product. You're not shooting darts in the dark. So you have a very, very defined problem statement, because enterprise will only buy software if they don't want to build it, if they feel that, okay, it's too not critical, or if they feel it's going to improve efficiency and save cost in some weird way or form. So with enterprises, problems are always very well defined. Also, as you work for a couple of years, you understand day-to-day problems of enterprises and where software can plug in and help those problems. Whereas with a consumer company, again, I have never built a consumer company, but I've worked in many consumer companies. A lot of the things are, I think, you start with a A/B test and sort of like follow the A/B test on what's working versus what's not. It's not really something like an enterprise business where you absolutely know the problem. With consumer, the needs changes every day, things change every day. So that's why I think we picked at least SaaS, or we also knew what the problem we were tackling. So that's why I feel enterprise business are a little bit more known. The variables are known than unknown.
Sure. So, and enterprise also have a bigger market, right? In terms of consumer, you see most of the enterprise companies. What I've heard earlier is that when Box was formed, it was tackling a problem statement of in trillions of dollars rather than forming just in billions of dollars, which consumer actually focuses on, which also suggests that enterprises have a lot of scope as well. But having said that, enterprises also are very tricky, right? Like if you think of it, enterprises can build their own solutions. Whereas the consumers as such, it wouldn't be the case, right? So what is your take on the big companies kind of building their own solutions in your own domain versus you kind of giving them an eye for an eye?
So I think big companies can always build whatever they want. I mean, I don't think we can beat like a Facebook or a Google or a Microsoft, any of the FANG companies in what they do, because they're the world's best at it. But there's also many other companies who may not have the same sort of engineering bandwidth or power, or just non-critical, right? So I think that way we can always help complement the larger companies, which is what we do when we do work with some of our customers. But with the medium and the smaller company, you can actually provide software to make their life easier, to make it more efficient, and also not for them to invest millions of dollars in building a non-critical asset. Software is easy to build, difficult to maintain. Like the people who build may just leave. You'll have to rebuild a bunch of the stuff. Code may become stale. So eventually, I feel the world will go towards a position where if you're able to procure a software for a reasonable price and you're able to give customizations that they want, it always makes sense to buy software than to build inside. You will only build critical components of your software inside that is truly differentiated IP, but you won't build every part of the stack. You will definitely license, which means like everybody can build a chat app easily, then there should be no peer-to-peer chat application at all. But do people really want to build it? No. So many verticals like that where you see enterprise businesses really springing up and making companies more efficient. And as soon as you make companies more efficient, they are saving some or the other cost in the bottom line somewhere, and they will continue to use you.
Very cool. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's apt for the growing number of startups that we're seeing, and you probably would cater to them as well, right? Which suggests that with the likes of, say, the logistics companies that we're seeing, early stage logistics companies or early stage food tech companies, anything and everything that requires maps, you will probably end up catering and helping them out in their processes as well. Right?
I think for us, it's more about actually our tech works the best for when you reach a certain scale. We in fact tell many small companies to use existing solutions till they reach a certain scale and they build a business, because the true efficiency is the 1% that we really save. So when you're at a scale where you're delivering 10 plus million orders per day, that's when our tech or the customizations truly help you. That doesn't mean we don't work with small companies. We work with many small companies. We offer them the same sophistication of technology that we offer the large companies. So net, I think we have a market that's a pretty greenfield opportunity in front of us currently, with very less competition anywhere. There's only one large competitor for us. So I think, yeah, let's see how it goes.
Awesome. So yes, I think that's very interesting. In space in SaaS as well. Another interesting space in SaaS which really took off post-COVID is actually video conferencing and how exactly we conduct, right? So Lazare, you're in that industry, but that industry didn't start off just after COVID. That industry's been around for quite some time. Skype was probably the master of it in those early days, until Microsoft bought it for $8 billion and probably kind of didn't make much use of it. Post that, we've had Google Meets, we've had all sorts of video conferencing. It actually took off when we had this WhatsApp voice call, WhatsApp video chat, video call, and it actually just took off post-COVID, right? And industry as such, in terms of video conferencing, if you'd see, was high in demand, was used across all sorts of verticals in SaaS. So can you just tell us how exactly your industry, specifically your particular use case that you mentioned in terms of transcriptions and editings as such, would be the way ahead for this video conferencing or video telepathy industry as such, and telephone industry, and how exactly you would kind of use AI ML to assist you in this process?
So for the last question, I have a clear answer. For the first one, I don't have a clear answer on how the industry will evolve, because there are two opposing forces, I'd say. First of all, it's an industry where network effects are the strongest. That is, you use Zoom because your coworkers use Zoom, and it's a building effect. So the more you use Zoom, the more you will be invited to use Zoom. But on the other hand, there's a commoditization of the technology behind it. So if you want to build your own video conferencing service and be able to scale it, you can do that quite easily. Well, of course, depends what you call easy. Using open source solution, I'm thinking about Jitsi, for example, which is the solution powering a lot of the video conferencing solutions. So in my opinion, though, I think the providers of video conferencing are not here to stay. That is, their only moats is their network effects, and that network effects can switch quite easily depending on the consumer mood at the moment. And secondly, going back to how we're positioned in this and how we're going to use AI and ML to build up our own moats. First of all, we're agnostic compared to what solution you use. So we work with. This is really a strong position of ours, is that we integrate with any video conferencing service you use. So we're not dependent on what you use. And secondly, we're focusing on building the easiest way to search and share your video conversations. So the transcription quality is really at the core of what we offer. So this is why we have human transcription available through freelancers. And actually, what's great about this is that our clients pay us to build up our own data sets, because once we have that human transcription available, and once we have volume of human transcription available, we can build AI ML on top of it.
So as I understand, both of you kind of work in an industry which is proved or protected, by all sorts of external effects as such, right? Because both of you are just like an attachment for all the existing maps that you see, in your case, Ajay, and Lazare, in your case, in terms of all the existing video conferencing. Because despite the big tailwinds that come in, you will obviously be protected because you are an attachment or an API enabler, as I understand, right? Having said that, I think we kind of are living in this whole API economy, if you see, and most of it is trying to get open source. Like most of these applications are trying to give out their APIs so that they can connect on various applications. Where do you see, Ajay, in terms of this API economy going ahead in mapping and you kind of helping out various industries like logistics, and all the other industries that use maps as such? And predominantly to focus on how exactly API economy would look in the future for the use case.
So in my opinion, in our domain at least, I have a feeling that people will barely be paying cost price for just calculating distance time. It'll almost be free. It's almost already free. It may not be accurate, but there are many free open sources where you just calculate a bunch of distances and time estimates. The true value is in how do you use specific companies' data to optimize this whole system for them. How do you make a company more efficient using their data combined with open data, combined with something else? So how do you amalgamate these multi-source data? How do you manage it seamlessly on the fly? How do you offer customization of various forms of spatial data? And how do you then make it into a super simple API that they can integrate with no tech effort? That is where it's going to go. If you make a very complicated process of this, then they have to invest engineering on their end again. Then it's the same thing, right? It's just moving from one evil to another. So we want to make it very easy that we do the heavy lifting of doing all this processing, computing, calculating, building models, making it more efficient, and just give you a super simple API to plug into your ecosystem that you can run on literally from the next day. That's our vision. I feel the whole API economy is going to keep booming. I think it has just accelerated COVID last year in terms of the adoption of software. Many people who thought for example, they would never deliver a single thing in their life are starting to deliver things. Even the world's most expensive restaurants now have to figure out another way to serve people. Food is just one vertical. What the COVID has also taught us is if you don't move, things move to you. You cannot change movement. The world has to move. How it moves is immaterial. So at the end of all of this, I feel the market is just going to like hyper accelerate the next couple of years. So software driven solutions are only going to be more and more sophisticated. So for you to be a true competitive differentiator, you need to offer that 1% more than what others are doing. So it'll be a very interesting next decade to see for software, especially enterprise SaaS.
Yeah, I think I'm personally working in this domain as well, trying to integrate a lot of these softwares as such, and I find it very exciting and very cool because of the sheer value that is created and the synergy that is created for all these softwares, right? Trying to understand that each of it, as a consumer or as an enterprise, you'll be using multiple tools and multiple softwares, and understanding the data that is being transferred from one silo to another is probably the most exciting thing that we'll probably have. Across platforms and across devices as well. If you'd see, we would have multiple devices. Today we use smartphone the most. Tomorrow we'll probably have smartwatches. We'll have autonomous vehicles. How do you transfer data from each of it? Seems very exciting. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm not an expert in the domain actually, to be frank, but I have a feeling that we are anyway already in a very connected world. I have a feeling that we will not have devices going forward is what my thing. I mean, thinking, about maybe 10 or 15 years from now, the devices will all be integrated into some form of space again. It will become more augmented. It will become more virtual. I think screens eventually will go away. I think how we interact between computer and human is going to rapidly change, and we need to adapt. In fact, like how most of our parents found it tough to adapt to the touch phone, I have a feeling that we will have the same issue when we have to touch something else to click or some. Eventually, I think that's what's going to happen in this whole space as such. So we need to rapidly adapt every software that we build because the change is coming so quick of late that we all can't predict what's going to happen. But what's going to, at least in this whole connected device segment, I think eventually physical assets like a car, even a street light, a phone, all will talk to each other in some weird way or form. I don't know using what operating systems and how data is going to get transferred, but contextual, everything is going to become hyper local. You will know where exactly your position is based on something in this world eventually. So I think it will be a very interesting next 4 or 5 years to see how you actually make use of it. Data is anyway already getting generated in billions, but not everything is getting used. A lot of the data is actually going for a waste. But how do I show you an ad as you're walking in a street based on a screen that is there next door and identifies that, okay, through this person, this is actually Ajay. Ajay likes X thing, and that's the ad to contextually show on a street. That is still much, much far away, I think.
Oh, 100%. I think that's well put in terms of how exactly we may use data. It's very interesting and rightly so, right? Like even if you see Lazare in Spoke, you would have a lot of this in terms of open APIs, right? You'll eventually find trying to integrate a lot of it across various devices, across various platforms. Zoom recently, so there's a special term that is coined Zoom as a service, and most of it, the upcoming companies kind of require Zoom's license to have them on their platform, and would require even your license in the future as such when they want to integrate this as a plugin or as an API as such. What do you think of that for serving multiple industries in SaaS, and how exactly API will play a big role in your particular domain and SaaS as well in general?
So I'd say we for the solutions we integrate with, we've more or less solved it. That is, we integrate with any solution you have right now. But in our sense, APIs will enable us to multiply the value we provide to our customers. We're not there yet, but that is each specific one of our customer uses a different CRM, uses a different project management tool, etc. And integrating with those software is for us the easiest way to multiply the value we're giving our customers. So one stupid example, which is actionable this month, which we're focusing on this month, is a calendar integration. So we don't have it yet. But having it is, of course, a simple value multiplier for us, because then your videos will have the participants inside, will have the title of the meeting, etc. So it's not in terms of capture for us, as in capturing the source material, which is the video conference, etc. But in terms of distribution, for which we're classic SaaS software, and for which it changes everything to integrate with as much APIs as possible.
Awesome. I think the industry as such looks very exciting. I think both of it in terms of how exactly we're going to solve this open APIs for the world and integrate millions of platforms and millions of services that we're going to see. Yeah, I think that kind of refreshes our mind, and we would quickly now jump into our next segment, which is a segment that we thought will probably be very interesting to understand how exactly both the founders think, their thoughts, their likings, and it's our rapid fire segment. If we were doing this live together, we would have ended up giving some gift hamper as such, but no worries, we'll probably send one as well. Raghav would do it, and we would ideally like Raghav would ask a question, and we would ideally like both of you to give an answer one after the other, and we would wrap our session after that. So Raghav, you're good to go.
Yeah, Ajay, Lazare, you guys ready? Like, let's get on with this rapid fire then.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
First question. Okay. So let's start. So the first question is like, you guys would have definitely thought of. It's like, which founder do you guys admire the most?
I like Larry and Sergey from Google.
Okay. And any reason?
Just
one line
probably
that you want to tell me.
I worked at Google, and it was truly inspirational. The few years I spent there, and they were there every Friday talking to us. So it was really, really nice to have them.
Cool. Lazare?
I like somebody that most people do not like. That is Mark Zuckerberg. And actually, I do not like his products. I don't like Facebook. I don't like WhatsApp. But I like how he just understands the market and crushes out every competitor. He's, in terms of execution, he's one of a kind, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, execution-wise, I think definitely a standout. So the next question is quite interesting, because both of you guys have traveled, both of you guys have been to different countries, you've worked in different countries. So the question is, which is the best place to build a startup today? Like, are you biased towards any particular place, or like, what do you feel?
I think hands down Singapore.
Okay.
I would answer Singapore as well, or a place I've never been to, California, in terms of connections, etc. But I'm speaking for California. I've never been there, so I just have a hang. I would get connections in a lot easier fashion, but I don't know what I'm speaking about here.
Really good. Yeah, I mean, Singapore was a common option for both of you. So, like, could you maybe give me a one-pointer why? Like, just why Singapore?
I think ease of business. There are many facets to Singapore as to why.
Okay.
It's even financially, for you personally, professionally, taxation, company secretary, black and white documentation. Everything is very simple. I set up a company in literally 3 hours. I just went to, everything was so seamless. Like, it takes ages in any other country to set up a company. Everything was just done in a week when you want to start up, including bank accounts. So ease of doing business purely. So when you're really starting up, you have 150 other things to do. The last thing you want to do is compliance, taxation, all the jazz. So Singapore makes life extremely easy. and I've worked in 6 countries in the past. So that's my humble opinion. That's currently the best place to start a business.
Cool.
I'm sorry, I have to go with Ajay again once more. So yeah, setting up my company in France was a 2 months ordeal, a never-ending back and forth with the administration. I suppose it's a little bit the same in India, with paperwork all over the place. Whereas yes, I have family living in Singapore. Starting a company is a matter of hours, not months.
Very cool, man. I mean, like that's a great opinion actually. So the same to both of you. Like both of you guys are in the SaaS-based industry, but if not SaaS, which industry would you guys be in?
I'd be in food for sure. I mean, that's just because I like food. So I mean, if I was not in SaaS, I would just do something in food.
I'd be in logistics.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Ajay would definitely have something to say there, maybe. So the next question, like funding or bootstrap?
It depends what sort of a business you're building. When you're building a very high-tech business where you have to hire people who are expensive and just generally very, very limited talent pool, I would go with funding like what we did currently, because we just needed the people to be on this sort of orbit trajectory. But if I was doing something on my own next, like the food thing I was talking about, I would never raise money. I would just do it bootstrap.
Funding as well. The space we're in is really booming. There's a lot of competitors, and I think it's the one who's going to win it's going to be in terms of go-to-market, in terms of execution in the first few years. So yes, funding to go fast.
Okay. Cool. So the next question, like, I mean, this is definitely something a lot of startups keep talking about. So which do you feel is more important, scalability or profits?
So profit is not something you think of the first year in general, but if you don't think of having a tangible business model, like the old school fashion of how do you actually make money, then your startup is bound to fail, of late at least. It used to be the case that unlimited capital was available in the past and where you could just keep burning, but that's not the case anymore. And in any case, in SaaS, you need to have a business model. You just cannot shoot arrows in the dark. In at least B2C, you can afford to burn a little bit. So I think building a system for scalability is important, but thinking of profit in parallel is how you're supposed to, at least according to me, run your company. Because if you don't do that, then you will build an amazingly scalable product that nobody uses, and that makes no sense.
Got it.
I'm answering scalability first. Well, so it's a non-answer. Scalability while thinking about profits. Clearly, you want to do a business that's used by a lot of people. And once again, I'm thinking about my vertical, which is video conferencing. There are network effects, and you need to reach a certain scale fast in order to start getting traction and profitability.
Definitely. So the next question, useful for our readers as well as something that you guys would have thought of. It's like, which book or a blog or any particular series would you guys recommend to aspiring founders, entrepreneurs in general?
I am probably the worst person. I do not read at all. So you won't believe it, the only website I read is BBC still. So I just don't do much of reading. So I think probably the wrong person to ask this question.
Okay. No worry.
Same here, actually. It's a shame to admit, but at least AJ went first. I did not read either. But I actually love a blog, which is maybe not for founders, but in technology and understand how everything is reachable, which is called Lachlan on Science.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Actually, there is one I read out of interest because I like finance and economics. There's something called Naked Capital. It's pretty good.
Oh,
yeah, that's beautiful.
So we shall attach both these links in the description as well, so that everyone listening can.
It's just like macroeconomics and just finance and just how, because I've never studied it, so at times it's a very, very nice way that they put most of the blogs and articles for laymen like me. It's a pretty fun blog to read if you're in tech and want to know about finance.
Fun fact, layman like me was also a testimonial for a junior VC. Because if you see our website as well, we kind of split each sector and each company really well. And there was a testimonial that, was told that how exactly we explain is fun as well. But having said that, yes, Raghav, we can go to the next one.
Yeah, so this is the last question. for both of you. Which SaaS company do you admire the most apart from your own, obviously?
I think truly, if from India, again, since again there are many SaaS companies I like, but I think from India, I think Zoho, Freshworks are the two fantastic companies of exam. I mean, I know I'm like literally quoting what everybody in the world quotes, so it's not a big deal. But truly, the way they've executed, the way they've really captured a market is very, 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 very good. So I think in Asia, India, I think they're a fantastic Slack company. In the US, I think Slack is one of the best SaaS companies I have ever seen built. It is such a cool product. It's an incredible platform to use. The ease of using it is amazing. So yeah, I mean there, and again, I know I'm quoting many. Our true inspiration at NB is Stripe. Stripe is truly, according to us, what we'd like to build for location, what Stripe did for finance. So we truly aspire to be Stripe for location. That's been our thesis since day one, that we need to make location product usage as simple as it is and as complicated a vertical it is, like what they've done with finance. So yeah, these are the 3-4 companies I truly admire.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense. Like, yeah, go ahead.
So I will answer Stripe. I'm quite basic as well. But another company I really admire is a mail company called Superhuman. I don't know if you've heard about it. What they did was build a mail client and sell it for $30 per month per user. And when you think about it, that is just insane. I mean, everybody has email. Everybody loves, I mean, not loves, but everybody has email. And it's for free, right? You can have like Google email with like unlimited storage for free. And they came up in a space that everybody thought was solved, was basically done with. Built up a new product, a product that consumers love, with a really a big focus on the feel and touch of the product itself, and ended up just by and also by being a really niche segment, which is a Mac OS application, iPhone only app. Built a 100 million ARR business. It's just crazy, just for email.
Definitely.
That's a very exciting take as well. Anderson Horowitz actually founded Superhuman recently. I recently kind of put in my details as well to get an access to Superhuman. Yeah, but having said that, I think both of you are also building probably the most exciting startups. You probably want to talk about you as well, and hopefully wish you all the very best. Future's bright. We will see a rainbow for sure. As Ajay just raised his Series A, congrats on that. And congrats on all those laurels as well. I think you won quite a few awards recently. Rooting for you, Lazare. I think you are also kind of building a very sexy product. Been using your product for quite some time now. Rooting for you as well. Hopefully you kind of make a niche for yourself in SaaS, the sector that I love the most, along with Raghav. and we would definitely kind of root for you from the AGVC team as well.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Awesome.
Great talking to
Nice
you.
to see you, Lazare. See you. Bye.
Thanks. See you guys.
See you guys.